Got three things I want to talk about. Number one, the video is now out of OBJ, former Giants, Browns, Rams receiver, on an airplane that he got kicked off of. Well, it's not great, but yet there's plenty of OBJ stands defending him. I've come to terms with something about celebrity in our country. It can be Justin Bieber. It can be Taylor Swift. It can be OBJ. Men are often still little boys. They're fanboys. That's my term for them, fanboys. They worship celebrities. I love having fans. I don't want any of you to worship me, nor should you. I'm completely flawed. But OBJ all over the interweb, little boys in their 30s and 40s who are physically men but have no sense of self. They worship, they coddle, they wait in line, they wear jerseys. You'll never see me wearing a jersey. I thought OBJ moved into Dez Bryant territory. Remember when Dez Bryant was on Hard Knocks near the end of his career? And there was a piece of video of Dez Bryant calling out a coach and being temperamental and immature and incredibly needy. His market literally dried up. Nobody wanted Dez Bryant. Aging receivers who come off as petulant and needy, OBJ has no market. None. It's over. But OBJ's never had any self-awareness. He's now more known for, the end zone peeing, the model in Paris, on the boat, this video on the plane. Outside of the one-handed catch, what's his next biggest catch? But I'm not here. If my kids acted like the video of OBJ, I would write them out of the will. And one of my kids is 16. OBJ's like in his 30s. Total, arrogant, entitled lack of self-awareness. But I can tell you right now, fanboys will be all over this podcast whining and defending OBJ because that's the culture. We have a celebrity culture, and some men are boys, fanboys. And it doesn't matter what the behavior is. I mean, the first time I really came to terms with this was years ago with Bobby Knight. And Bobby Knight had a horrible reputation, and a secret video of practice came out, and I forget the name of the player, and you could see him putting his hand on his throat. And I worked with a guy in the media who was a co-host for a short period of time who loved Bobby Knight, who defended it. And I remember saying, well, what if that was your kid? Would you defend it? Really? It was the first time it really hit home that there are men who are really have the maturity of boys that they worship. I mean, I collected baseball cards when I was 8, and I admire great artists. I mean, I was Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Patrick Mahomes. These guys are incredible. I don't worship. And if you're still defending OBJ, he just became Dez Bryant. That video, no thanks. Folks, what's the one position college football furnishes the NFL with every year with 20 new really good players? Wide receiver. OBJ is temperamental, brittle, expensive, and emotionally needy. Hard pass. So the Bills and Chiefs, if they meet in the AFC Championship, will play in Atlanta in a dome. Some people just need to be outraged. I don't want to hear about Buffalo and Kansas City or cold weather teams. Josh Allen's from California. You think he loves the Buffalo weather? One of the worst games he ever played was in that 40-mile-an-hour nor'easter against the Patriots when he lost to Mac Jones. There's a reason there is no picture or video of the Beatles ever performing in a blizzard. Because if they had a concert scheduled in one, they would have canceled. Great artists and performers, and that's what quarterbacks and pro athletes are are at their best performing in ideal conditions suited for good performances. Go look at Josh Allen's best games. The weather's been closer to 55 or 60 degrees, not 9. There's this myth that cold weather teams are best suited for cold weather. Really? Buffalo's a passing team. They have an inconsistent run game. Ohio State's a prime example. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were built for cold weather. But Ohio State football now is a wide receiver factory. If they'd have played Georgia in a 30-mile-an-hour windstorm, they would have gotten derailed. They would have been blown out. But they had the better receivers and the better quarterback and 3 NFL offensive linemen. So C.J. Stroud, in ideal conditions, sat back and picked a great Georgia defense apart. The truth is, cold, ugly weather benefits Michigan more than Ohio State in their current rivalry. Michigan is a ground and pound team. Ohio State's Alabama. They're an aerial circus. They're wide receiver U. Just because you play in cold weather doesn't mean you're ideally built for it. Aaron Rodgers' last 3 cold weather playoff games. Lost to Brady, lost to Garoppolo. And let's be honest, the Detroit game, it was in the regular season, but it was a playoff game, really. It was a battle for a playoff position. He stunk in the fourth quarter. Aaron's not good in cold. He's a Californian. He just happens to play a lot in the cold. I want to talk Derek Carr. So he has a no-trade clause. The Raiders are now looking around for trade partners. They want to do it February 15th or earlier. That helps them out in the salary situation. So you can go to therapy. I've probably had 6, 7 different therapists in my life. I've moved all over the country, as many of you know. And I have gone for a specific reason to overcome something, fight through something, work through something. But I have friends who have been therapists, and they'll tell you that change is hard even when you want to change. Most people don't. And so I watch the New York Jets. They're trying to find a quarterback. So what do? They fire their offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. Apparently it came from the owners. The New York Jets need therapy. They can't help themselves. They've got to break through. So Derek Carr is going to seek continuity. The Jets already had a few things working against them. They have a defensive coach. They don't have a good left tackle. They have a defensive culture. One of the few things they had going for them, interesting young wide receiver talent, and Matt LaFleur's smart brother as their coordinator. Now they just fired him. If you're trying to attract Derek Carr, because you're not going to get Tom Brady, so it's down to Garoppolo, Tannehill, Derek Carr. And Derek Carr, to me, is the best one on the market. He's always healthy, usually solid, BB+. You just fired your offensive coordinator. Matt LaFleur's brother is respected. It was one of the few things you had working for you. Now, it looks like Miami in your same division is the perfect landing space. Better weather, offensive coach, significantly better veteran weapons, better left tackle. Jets. You're like the person that goes to therapy, but you're really not looking to change. You're just going because somebody said you needed to go to therapy. Defensive coach, New York taxes, no left tackle, shaky ownership. Now you fire a respected OC. What are you doing? Just because you go to therapy doesn't mean you're really seeking change. And what's ironic is one of the other best landing spots is in your division. So if you don't get Derek Carr, he may come back to beat you twice a year. So you really don't want to screw this up. And you already did.